In the 1940s, the Algerian coastal city of Oran is a place of absolute routine. Citizens work hard, strictly with the goal of getting rich. They cultivate rigid habits, consume love quickly, and their primary interest is simply doing business. This predictable world cracks open one morning when Dr. Bernard Rieu stumbles out of his clinic and steps on a single dead rat. He kicks it aside, assuming it is a stray accident or a juvenile prank. But within days, dozens of dead rodents turn into hundreds. Thousands emerge from the dark crevices of the city, spraying blood from their mouths and dying in the open streets. The oblivious public is finally forced to stop and look down at the sidewalk. Albert Camus, the French-Algerian author of the 1947 novel The Plague, used this medical disaster to explore a concept he called the absurd. He defined this as the friction between our human desire for order and meaning and a cold, silent universe completely indifferent to us. To Camus, a sudden, unfeeling disaster is the mechanism that shatters our daily complacency. It strips away the illusion of security, forcing individuals to confront just how little control they actually have over a meaningless universe. Dr. Rieu quickly identifies the biological threat. Patients are running high fevers, developing swollen lymph nodes, and dying within 48 hours. He immediately issues a warning to the municipal authorities, but the bureaucratic reaction is defined by delay. Politicians and rival doctors avoid using the word plague entirely, fearing the damage a panic would do to the local economy. They choose to protect trade by downplaying the mounting casualties. Eventually, the death toll climbs past the point of deniability. The government officially declares an epidemic, and the heavy gates of Oran are slammed shut. This lockdown triggers a state of profound exile. Husbands are separated from wives, and mothers from children. Behind the walls, the citizens are trapped in a prison house, cut off from their loved ones and their former lives by a sudden, invisible barrier. Institutional denial did not stop the bacillus. It only ensured that the medical crisis transform into a permanent state of human isolation. Camus wrote the novel while serving in the French resistance during World War II. For his readers, The Contagion was a direct allegory for the Nazi occupation of France, an invasive, dehumanizing force the French called the Brown Plague. In this occupied state, the residents of Oran react in deeply flawed ways. A profiteer named Cotard thrives on the chaos, building a black market empire. For him, the city's downfall is a source of personal freedom and wealth. Father Panelou, a Jesuit priest, offers a theological rationalization. He tells a crowded cathedral that they deserve this suffering, framing the mass death as God's rightful punishment for the town's moral laxity. Meanwhile, the journalist Raymond Rambert focuses entirely on himself. Trapped away from his wife, he obsesses over finding illegal smugglers to help him escape the quarantine, insisting the town's tragedy is not his concern. When an absurd crisis first strikes, the default human response is often a retreat into selfishness, whether it's ideological finger-pointing or predatory exploitation or ignoring the shared catastrophe. The shift toward a different response begins with a traveler named Jean Taru. He refuses to be a fatalist. Instead, he organizes voluntary sanitary squads, recruiting citizens to fight the disease on the front lines. Dr. Rieu joins him, driven by what he calls common decency. For Rieu, fighting the plague requires no grand heroism or religious salvation. It is simply doing one's job to alleviate the suffering of others. This work is exhausting and highly dangerous. Day after day, the volunteers perform the same repetitive tasks, transporting the dying, lancing buboes, and managing the grim logistics of a quarantined hospital ward. The weight of the crisis changes during the agonizing death of an innocent child. Watching the boys suffer despite receiving an experimental serum shatters Father Panelou's theological justifications. It also inspires the journalist Rambert to abandon his escape plans and join the volunteer squads. This mirrors the real-world action of the French resistance. Everyday people, doctors, clerks, and writers, gave up their private lives and safety to form a collective wall against an overwhelming occupying force. Camus argues that true rebellion against a meaningless universe is found in secular solidarity, the unglamorous, daily refusal to surrender to death, regardless of whether the struggle can be won. Eventually, the disease retreats. As the weather turns, the bacteria begins to weaken, and a serum developed by Dr. Castell finally begins to cure the infected rather than merely delaying the inevitable. The quarantine is lifted, and explosive celebrations flood the streets of Oran. Families and lovers who endured months of separation are finally reunited in a burst of public euphoria. But Dr. Ryu watches from the sidelines. His friend Taru died of the plague in its final hours, and Ryu has just received word that his wife passed away in a sanitarium outside the city. Liberation is never a clean victory. Overcoming systemic evil extracts a permanent toll on those who fought it, leaving the survivors with a tragedy that forever separates them from the innocence of the cheering crowds. Ryu decides to chronicle the epidemic as a witness. He wants to document the history of the victims and show that even in the darkest circumstances, there is more to admire in humanity than to despise. He ends his account with a terrifying biological reminder. The plague bacillus never truly dies or disappears. It can lie dormant for years, hiding in furniture, linens, basements, and bookshelves. This dormancy is Camus' final philosophical warning. Authoritarianism, apathy, and systemic evil are never permanently eradicated. They merely sleep until a society becomes complacent enough to let them awaken. Human dignity and freedom require an exhausting, endless vigilance. Because, as Ryu warns, the plague will always awaken its rats again to test the conscience of a happy city.